Inventory is rising in a lot of places right now, and that changes the tone of the housing market fast. When there are more homes to choose from, buyers can slow down, compare options, and push harder on price and concessions. But rising inventory does not automatically mean a crash. In the latest June 2026 Realtor.com report, active listings were up 1.9% year over year nationally, and 35 of the 50 largest metros posted inventory growth. Redfin's latest market tracker showed total homes for sale at 1,483,839 in May, the highest since 2020, while Redfin's buyer-seller reports say the U.S. still leans in buyers' favor. So today, we're counting down 10 housing markets where inventory is surging and what that could mean for prices, competition, and negotiation power. Number 10. Boston, Massachusetts. In the Boston metro, active listings were up 13.6% from a year ago. Prices were also down 3.5% year over year, and homes were taking about 6 more days to sell than they were a year earlier. That combination tells you the market is getting a little more balanced. Sellers are facing more competition, and buyers are no longer being forced to move at the same pace they were during the peak frenzy. Number 9. Baltimore, Maryland. Active listings were up 15.1% year over year, while median list prices were down 3.8%. Days on market were up 4 days. Baltimore is a good example of a market where supply is clearly improving, but demand has not disappeared. Buyers have more breathing room than they had a year ago, and that often leads to more negotiation room on price and repairs. Number 8. Detroit, Michigan. Inventory in the Detroit metro was up 14.3% year over year. Prices were down 1.8%, and the market was still moving, but not in the same tight, overheated way it did during the pandemic years. Detroit is one of those markets where more supply can be a real advantage for buyers because it gives them more time to compare neighborhoods, financing options, and condition without feeling rushed. Number 7. Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte saw active listings rise 16.4% year over year. Median list prices were down 3.2%, and homes were taking 3 more days to sell than a year earlier. That is a meaningful shift for a Sunbelt market that was incredibly competitive not long ago. More inventory means buyers have choices again, and that usually puts a little more pressure on sellers to price realistically from day one. Number 6. Richmond, Virginia. Active listings were up 17.4% year over year in the Richmond metro. Prices were down 1.1%, but here's the interesting part. Homes were actually selling 6 days faster than a year ago. That tells you Richmond is not just one simple story. There is more inventory on the market, but demand is still strong enough in some segments to keep homes moving. That is exactly why inventory growth alone is not the whole story. You also have to look at price cuts, days on market, and how quickly new listings are being absorbed. Number 5. Indianapolis, Indiana. Inventory in Indianapolis was up 18.6% year over year. Median list prices were down 5.0%, and homes were taking 5 more days to sell. The price per square foot was actually up 4.9%, which tells you this market is splitting by property type and neighborhood. In a market like this, the best homes can still move, but weaker listings have to work a lot harder. For buyers, that often means more options and more room to negotiate. Number 4. Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati posted an 18.9% increase in active listings year over year. Median list prices were flat, and homes were taking 5 more days to sell. That is the kind of market where buyers start to notice a real change in leverage. Instead of rushing into a decision, they can take a breath, compare homes, and often push back on price if a listing has been sitting too long. Number 3. Seattle, Washington. Seattle's active listings were up 20.6% year over year. Median list prices were down 2.0%, and homes were taking 2 more days to sell than they were a year earlier. Seattle is notable because it has long been one of the more competitive markets in the country. So when inventory rises this much there, it matters. It tells you the market is loosening, buyers are getting more choices, and sellers can no longer assume they will get a bidding war just because they list a home. Number 2. Buffalo, New York. Active listings in Buffalo were up 27.7% year over year, one of the strongest gains in the country. Median list prices were down 9.1%, and price per square foot fell 5.2%. New listings were also up 12.3%. Buffalo is a great example of what happens when supply builds while pricing softens at the same time. Buyers get more choice, and sellers have to become much more strategic about presentation, pricing, and timing. Number 1. Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville had the biggest inventory growth in the latest Realtor.com metro data, with active listings up 28.7% year over year. Median list prices were down 1.0%, days on market were up 2 days, and new listings were up 3.1%. Louisville is the clearest example on this list of a market where supply is building fast enough to change the feel of the market. More homes are hitting the market, buyers have more options, and sellers are having to compete harder for attention. As we've seen throughout this countdown, rising inventory doesn't tell the whole story. Some markets are simply returning to a healthier balance, while others are beginning to shift in buyers' favor. But there's another major reason inventory is growing in many parts of the country, and it has to do with home builders. Across the U.S., builders are offering incentives, cutting prices, and sitting on more unsold homes than we've seen in years. In our next video, we'll break down exactly why builders suddenly can't sell homes, what it means for buyers, and why it could have a big impact on the housing market going forward. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Housing Brief, where we break down housing market trends, real estate news, cost of living rankings, and the latest economic data to help you make smarter buying, selling, and investing decisions.